Welcome back, everybody. This is Brian Johnson coming back to you from the offices of Tennessee State Soccer Association. We're doing another in our series of TSSA Talks, interviews about social justice in soccer and really shining a light on some underrepresented voices in our game. We're, again, tremendously excited to be back joined by JJ Greer, who's here for part 3 of our interview with him. We've talked about what a great soccer journey you've had, JJ. The credit to your sister for bringing you to our game originally and your folks for getting involved, but you've really taken this game and made your stamp on it. To come up as a youth player in Tennessee, played ODP here as a Tennessee kid, went on and excelled at the University of Memphis, had a 4 or 5 year professional career. And now what I'm so excited about is now talking to you about your journey beyond that. Because for every athlete well, if you're thinking like, this can't go on forever. There's not still guys. Yep. I mean, Mike Tyson's still out there boxing and making money at 50. But for most folks, at some point previous to that, or even Tom Brady, for goodness sakes, in his mid-40s, like, especially in our game, the toll does wear on. You had some injuries as a college player. You had some other injuries. Not anything as maybe serious or career or season ending, but some more injuries have happened. We mentioned earlier your lovely wife and your 4 beautiful children. Now, you've progressed down this journey. You had to make a decision at some point that, hey, I'm ready for the next stage in life. And for a lot of our players who I hope are out there watching these, who are our current kids, who are recreational players or ODP players, wherever they are in their journey, and have big dreams to accomplish maybe what you did someday. I'd love for them to be thinking about there's still something that comes after that. And so I'm so excited to hear you tell us about that journey and that decision-making process from the pro player to now a professional outside of soccer, and now even you're still staying involved in the game as a commentator, and then your dreams sort of for the future. So take us through what that, because again, another really interesting challenge you faced.
Of course. No, that's a huge, kind of point in any athlete's life, right? Whether you play professional or amateur, even if you don't play past high school, right? Having that realization that you're not going to play at like a really organized, serious level after that, that's arguably the same as after a professional career or collegiate career, because it's all relative, right? On how we feel. But even before the Phoenix year, that last year was my fourth and final year in USL. The wheels are kind of starting to turn on. Okay, what's potentially next, right? Coming off a pretty serious injury and not getting any older. At this time, it was my wife and my son Theo, who was, I think he was a year old at the time. Phoenix year goes through, and then after that, contemplated on whether maybe one more season, maybe not. Eventually settled on not playing anymore. So it was kind of, I had to really wrap my mind and quickly around, okay, what's next? What do I want to do? There's all kinds of things that swirled in my head, maybe, law school for a second and try to be an agent, a sports agent, kind of did some research on that. I was like, oh, maybe I don't want to do that. And then, just kind of looking online at real world jobs. And it's like, oh my gosh, I've never had to do this before, right? This is crazy. This is the real world, smacking me in the face. Of course, earning money playing soccer, and that was great. But it's a game. I was luckily able to do that dream, which is amazing. So then phasing into the next, point in my career, just on, LinkedIn and Glassdoor and all these other websites, looking for a job. My mom was like, you need to be looking for your job as your real job, like 8 hours a day. I was like, what?
Thanks, Mom.
There's not that many jobs out there. You know what I mean? She was like, yes, there are. And so, time goes on and doing interviews and things of that nature. And then finally landed on a job for a company called Snap Raise. I don't know if they're still called that now or not, but it was just an online fundraising platform for school sports teams in particular. So got that job and did that for a bit. And it was a good job. Got a lot of good experience on that. Helped raise money for teams in Memphis, which was great.
You relocated the family back to Memphis?
Yep. Relocated the family back to Memphis. Started to get my mind right about the next point of my career. and I actually received a great piece of advice from a friend of mine that I used to play soccer with growing up. His name is Asa Tony. I said, how did you switch out? I played soccer with him, and then he actually played basketball in college. He grew to be like big, like 6'4".
Wow.
He played at Maryville, St. Louis. I was like, how did you switch, from playing basketball into your next point in your career? He's like, well, really, you have to take the mindset that you had in soccer and switch that over into your work. So, all the time you spent working out and training and the focus you put in that, you have to make a transformation and put that into your work.
That's great advice.
Right. And so that really hit home for me. I was like, okay, I can understand that, and that competitive nature, because you always have it, right?
Yeah.
And then so, once I kind of made that mindset change, took off, and then eventually, got the job that I'm currently working for now with Memphis Tourism and the Memphis Sports Council.
And you're a lifelong. I mean, you're born and bred. Like you're a Memphian at heart.
Yeah.
So that's again another great accomplishment. You're now working for your city. Tell us a little bit about that job and how that continues to give you that outlet competitively to try and drive wins for the city of Memphis.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Once this job became available, that was a no-brainer because last job was great, but this job was, I thought could have a bigger impact just in terms of bringing events to the city. And like you said, I'm Memphian at heart, very proud, Memphis everything. And so, with my current role with the Memphis Sports Council, we recruit sporting events to the city. And in particular, youth amateur sporting events, anywhere up to, collegiate events and up to professional events or adult amateur, sporting events. So basically, talking to different sports rights holders and, getting them to bring their event to Memphis. People stay in the hotels and eat in the restaurants and drink in the bars and have a great time. Yeah.
The pandemic has been a challenge for us as a nonprofit. Our numbers are not what they were before. Our staff's a little bit smaller than it was before. We haven't lost anybody that's passed away. We just had a couple of people that found other opportunities and have moved on. And so, as a nonprofit, it's affected us. How's it impacted you guys at the Memphis Sports Council?
Yeah, no, it's been tough for us as well. We had one gentleman that unfortunately wasn't able to stay on with us, but he had actually got another great opportunity with the NBA down in the bubble. So that was a cool opportunity for him. But no, it's been very tough. I mean, we're in tourism, right? At the end of the day, in sports tourism, and luckily for us, some sports have been allowed to be played. So sports has been definitely not up to the standard we were, but it's not just completely dead, but a lot of the tourism industry is just, destitute.
Right.
So it's been very tough, and so we're, obviously hoping for a vaccine like everybody else, and hoping that, people can take it, and that people can, have faith in what is going on, and hopefully this will be it's not a small time, it's a large time, but hopefully, looking back 10 years from now, it'll be a thing of the past, and we'll be back where we once were.
Well, and we all are hoping for that, and I hope that'll be sooner rather than later. As we go forward, you've now managed to find a way to still stay involved in the game, and I think that's important. And the other thing I do really want to encourage folks out there that are players now. I mean, a lot of us maybe that are watching this are beyond our playing days. I certainly am. But, giving back to the game, finding a way to still be involved in the game was always really important to me. I think it's awesome that you found another way to still be involved in the game. A lot of our players, go on to become coaches, but there are many ways to still serve our game. And I think I'd really love to shine a light on the way you do now, that through your voice, you're a charismatic guy. We've gotten a chance to all experience that here today. Like, you have an opportunity with your words now, with your experiences, the context you can bring as a former pro to the 901 FC games. Tell me a little bit about your broadcasting career, this a portion of what you do now.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, even right after I was done with Phoenix, I think the announcement came out that Memphis 901 FC was going to have a team. Not too long after that, maybe even during the season, but it wasn't going to be until
another
2
year
years.
removed.
Another year removed. So, but even still, right after the Phoenix season, was able to get in touch with some of the guys that own the team and run the team, and just speak with them, like, hey, I'd love to be involved. I'm not sure if he'll be playing, but just how can I, do anything, be involved with the club, doing anything. And they were like, thanks for reaching out. We want to hear from, local guys that are, involved in the soccer community. And, really right now we're trying to hire a coach. We're trying to do the very basic things and, just kind of stick around and we'll reach back out to you. I was like, cool, maybe they'll reach out, maybe they won't. But, at least I gave them a call, right?
Yeah.
And then so finally, got the coach, get the players and the foundation is laid, and now they're looking for other things to fill. And Andrew Bell was the technical director at the time at 901 FC, and he was like, what? I think, what do you think about, commentating, doing color commentating? I was like, sure, I was like, I haven't done a lot of it, but I'll do it,
Sure.
Just kind of those things, just say yes kind of deal. And my dad, he's a sportscaster in Memphis for WMC TV5, and he's been doing that for 40 years. And
so it's in the blood, maybe a little.
I guess so, right? I don't, he could do that in his sleep. But for me, it's a different. I played the game, right? I never really, had the opportunity to talk about the game like that. Maybe one or two high school games, but that's a very smaller level. So got that opportunity and been running it with it ever since for the past 2 years. Yeah,
that's great. Well, and again, I think the idea that when a young person goes and turns on the television, or an older person, and can see a face and hear a voice, that's one that they can recognize. And again, you have with your long career in Memphis and the impact that that's made across our state and really, across our country. That's a face that, hey, wait, that's a guy that's from that's from here. That our kids growing up in Tennessee now can, even 10 years ago, there's no professional soccer in Tennessee. And now all of a sudden, if you wake up in Chattanooga or you wake up in Nashville or you wake up in Memphis, you can turn on the TV. And for those communities that aren't lucky enough to have one, now still within our state, you can see one. And so I commend you for finding a way to still contribute and give back to the game. I hope everybody will continue to love it and find a way. Cool. As we sort of start to wrap up here, JJ, I think one of the things, there's just so much that you've said today that really does resonate with me about the story and the journey. And I'm even thinking, back to, you talked about when you went from being a college player to being a pro, and after those injuries, like you had to knock on those doors.
Of course.
It was you finding it. You had to then go out and, this broadcasting opportunity didn't come up by happenstance or even because your dad's great at it. It came up because you ultimately started that conversation. You took ownership of that and went out and took. I'm wondering now how we can all collectively take a lesson from that. What do we need to do to help see what can the future of our game? You mentioned you think the future is bright for our game. I happen to agree with you. I think the future is bright for our game from a national team level, our men's and women's national teams, but to our youth levels, to our grassroots level, to the recreational levels that are out there. We're working on some exciting partnerships with Tennessee Soccer, with companies, with apps, with technology that can come in and help with the game. What are some things you think maybe we can do to take from that inspiration of you being the guy out there knocking on the doors, making those opportunities happen? I don't know that we have an easy path to right now. Like, I can't tell the folks that are watching us, hey, go hit up these 5 charities. These are the ones. We've got a great one I mentioned to you earlier. Operation Get Active in Chattanooga is awesome for bringing out kids who don't otherwise have access to the game. The Nashville SC Roadies are a fan group here in Nashville around the MLS team. And they really do some things to charitably fundraise for kids who are, in many cases, immigrants who are new to the country and they're having to find a way in a new country and learn the language and stuff. So there's a few out there, and I don't want to undermine any, but I do want to see, for you folks out there listening, if you know of them, let us know about them. Reach out to us here at Tennessee State Soccer Association. And sort of in that context, JJ, what are your hopes and dreams for the future of soccer, and maybe how we could all maybe be a part of producing incremental progress?
I think it's making the game accessible. It is the most accessible game in the world. Something we were talking about earlier. You don't really even need a ball. And I know the story's been told so many times, but it's true. You can play soccer with anything, and basically anybody can find a ball. Definitely in America, right? We can find a ball. So it's about, grabbing the ball and whether it's going knocking on doors, go to schools or, talk to school boards or just really just knocking on the doors and saying, how can we get the ball rolling? Sorry, pardon the pun, but
No.
but it's true. It's just kind of starting the conversation. Maybe you don't know where it leads, but stuff normally comes together, when you reach out to people and want to help and volunteer, not just money, but your time is the most important thing, your time and your energy. So that's whether people, that happen to watch this call, you, Brian, or Hans at TSSA and say, how can we help? How can we help grow the game? And even if you don't have the answer, right away, it's like, let me think about it. We're trying to do these things, but it's good to know that you have people in your corner. And the more you can kind of reach out and talk to people and just get out there on the ground floor, eventually things will start going the right way, and they really are. So it's about how do we keep that momentum going, that's just what my experience has been.
Well, I think it's really the conversation that I think is an important first step, and I think sometimes it can be scary. I mean, when you start talking about we want to have a conversation in 2020 that revolves around race and soccer in Tennessee, right away that's scary. To want to because you've had not a lot of negative impacts, and I'm so happy to hear that. As a guy sort of that next generation after me, you've been able to come through and not have a lot of negative impacts. I hope other people will hear that story and can share that story. I hope where people have had different experiences, they can share them and we can learn from them and we can eliminate those things happening in the future. But if there's one thing we could all maybe take away from this, I'm going to go back to not the fact that you were a pro. I'm excited. I saw you play a bit as a kid growing up, coached at a college, similar to yours, not quite as successful, but, got a chance to see some of your success from afar. And and anytime somebody from Tennessee comes on and succeeds and becomes a pro and reaches their dream, I think that's awesome. It makes me feel good about the game and what we're doing. But the stick-to-itiveness, the incentive, the real fire that you had to bring to find in a team as your own agent, and then to now find a way into that broadcast booth. I hope that can be something that can drive all of us to say, hey, you know what? I don't know what the easy is. I can't just write a little check and send it off in the mail and feel like I did my good deed today. Maybe I have to create that charity. Maybe I have to help create this next movement for kids who are new to the game, who English isn't even their first language, or it is, and they've been impacted by the pandemic. Some folks out there are having a hard time making bills get made to happen, paying those bills at the end of the year and the end of the month in this pandemic. But hey, how can I do one little thing? How can I be a part? How can I have a conversation like this? So if JJ and I don't do anything else today, we've gotten a chance to sit down and talk about a game that we love. We have a lot of of friends in this game in common. I hope that it will encourage people to be welcome in our game, but to be welcome to be a part of our conversations as well, as we try to make this game be a conduit to making our whole state and our whole nation and our whole game globally be a better thing and a better place.
Of course. No, I just want to touch on, I think you said it best, the love of the game. That's where that's why we're here, right? If you love the game, you might not be able to, as you get older, be as close to the game as you like, but there's always a part of you where you can whether donate something, your time or whatever it is to be, stick to the game and be as close to the game as possible. So, I think if you love the game, find ways to grow it, right, and foster it, help out that next generation.
I really love what JJ said, and I'm not going to be able to sum that up better. I kept going back to how can you donate? You know what? The best thing you can donate to this game that we love so much is your time. It's your passion. If you're great at marketing our game, we don't need you to come be great at coaching it. You can be a great fan. You can be a great marketer, but finding a way that you can maybe give back with your time, that's even more impactful than your dollars. And this holiday season we're all coming up on, I think that's a great point for everybody to maybe leave us with. So I want to wish you guys, happy holidays from Tennessee State Soccer Association. I want to really thank my friend JJ Greer for coming out and being a part of this. We're excited to share voices from across our state, from all kinds of different perspectives. And by having these conversations, we're going to make this game better in our state. Thanks for joining us for TSSA Talks. We'll see you next time.